Are here with,
Frank Dimino.
okay,
Old
and
habits die hard.
that's right, those habits still go on. Frank, why did it take so long to get this thing going, to get it out?
I think I haven't stopped singing, so to me it doesn't seem like I have been anywhere. You know, I did a lot of studio stuff. I worked with Giorgio Moroder for a long time. I did a lot of whatever he was producing. I did a few albums for him, backgrounds and stuff. I did like Sparks and a few other things that he did. Of course, I did the Flashdance thing. I did the Fritz Lang movie, the Metropolis thing, for him. That never. I mean, I wasn't on the soundtrack, but we worked on some stuff together. And then I've always been singing with bands, other musicians. I did the fantasy camp in Vegas for a long time, and I put together Vinyl Tattoo with Oz Fox. So I've always been singing, so it doesn't seem like I've been anywhere.
What was it like to work with someone like Giorgio Moroder, who was, I mean, in Europe he was massive. Then he kind of became massive here. I mean, that guy wrote the 70s when it came to like pop music. What was he like in person?
Giorgio was he was pretty easy to work with. Of course, I did. He called me to do backgrounds on a lot of stuff. So if he needed backgrounds on a Sparks album or whatever other album it was, he would ask me to come down. And if he needed another vocal, if he wanted to, I would call someone I knew. In fact, I did a couple things with Fredrickson. I forget which albums they were, because they were like in and out. You know what I mean? And when you're doing that kind of stuff, they really want you to get in there and do it, and then finish. So, and especially the made-for-television movies that I did. I did a couple with an orchestra there. So it was like, here's the part, let's do it, and the orchestra's there. So you're doing it with the orchestra at the time, And so those are real quick things, but they were fun things. But working with Giorgio was great. It was easy, and he had Harold. I forget Harold's last name. He and Giorgio worked with us on the Fox's movie with Jodie Foster, and then he had another guy, Sylvie, who I worked with on the Flashdance thing. So he always had really good players as well. So yeah, Giorgio, I did a lot of stuff up at his house. He had a studio up in Truesdale Estates that I did a lot of work with him there.
He also had a comeback recently.
Did he?
Yeah, because he, I think it was the Daft Punk band that pulled him out of retirement. And he kind of went with the punch and did a solo record, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
Very catchy stuff with variety of singers, but wow, he still has it.
Yeah.
When it comes to melody, he is the master of melody.
Yeah.
But let's get back to you. So, how long before the Dimino project took?
Well, what happened was
shape?
A friend of mine, Ken Ciancimino, always would say, "Why don't you do a solo album?" And my thought process was, I've never done a solo album. I've always been kind of involved in bands. So the more Ken kept saying it, the more I started thinking, maybe it might release me from writing, gearing it towards the the way a band wants to be perceived as. So I said, well, maybe that might work. It sounds like something I might want to pursue. So he said, well, great, let's do it. Let's call. He knows Serafino very well. So he said, let's call Serafino. I'm sure he would love to do an album. So Serafino said, well, I'd like to hear something. What do what are you doing? What kind of stuff would it be like? So I said, it's not going to be band stuff, and most of the stuff that I have written, is stuff that I've done with different bands. There were a few things that I thought might work, and I had the Even Now, which I had written with Barry, and that was a while ago. But I thought, this is a song that Barry and I wrote without having a band around us, so we just kind of like wrote the song. So I had a demo of it that was still pretty. It was still pretty much done as far as the way we wanted it to sound and everything. And so I sent Serafino the demo that I had of Even Now. And when he got it, he emailed me back. He said, "I love it. Let's do it." So I said, "Okay, this is what I'd like to do. For this particular project, I'd like to write all new stuff." And he said, well, if it's close in this line with Even Now, he said, great. So I said, yeah, that's the approach that I want to go with, because I don't want to use any old stuff, because it feels like if I'm doing a new project, it should be done with a lot of all new material.
Absolutely.
So that's what I did. And I went ahead and because I had been working with Oz at the time,
how did he get involved? I was kind of surprised to see his name, but
Oz and I have been playing for a long time,
Uh-huh.
because he lives in Vegas. And we were doing, for fun, we were doing this thing in Vegas, and then finally we got to the point where both of us said, let's put our own thing together. So we put Vinyl Tattoo together, and that was with Scott Coogan on drums, who plays with Ace now, and Scott played with me at the Whiskey with this project. So Oz said, yeah, let's write some stuff together. So Oz and I wrote some stuff together, and then I called an old friend of mine, Jeff Lubansky, who I've known for years. And Jeff's a great songwriter. I called Jeff and I said, would you like to be involved in a solo project I'm doing? And he said, yeah, it sounds interesting. I said, it's going to be just no band. It's just going to be songs we write. He said, well, what kind of direction are we talking about? I said, good songs. We're not locked into any kind of direction. So that was the idea. That was the premise, to write good songs. And the other thing was to get the rhythm section. I wanted the same rhythm section for everything. So that was the basic idea for the whole thing.
As the album came out, what kind of response did you receive?
Great response. I mean, and it's always great to get a response like that when you haven't done anything in a while, album-wise. I got a great response. European. A lot of the writers in Europe. I did a lot of French magazines, Italian, of course, because of Frontiers. But because of Frontiers has that hard rock background anyway, they have, between having Whitesnake, Journey, all those guys that are in the same pocket, So my album was fit right into it, so I didn't have to worry about it. And it got a lot of really good press from European, British, and it took a while to set in over here in the States. But yeah, it's been very, very good, very, very nice.
I'm actually delighted to hear it, because your work with Angel is not as known in Europe as it was in the States. So in many ways, it could come across as a new artist, but you're far from it.
Right.
So again, you're saying the reactions all over the world pretty much are the same. Obviously, U.S. I've seen the people that came in before, and those were dedicated fans. There's no doubt about it. How are you promoting this record?
The only way, records these days are so difficult, you know what I mean? It's just not like it used to be. So the best way to do it is kind of just do interviews and press, and I'm doing a lot of stuff with internet radio, because terrestrial radio just doesn't work anymore. It's just it's filled with just, pop stuff, whether it's, and it's not that I don't like the stuff, but there's no room for anything else. It's basically, rap and pop is really taking over terrestrial radio. Sirius, radio has some things, but they tend to get caught up in playing the same bands and the same stuff, just like the old FM AOR used to do. So you'd think there was only like 6 or 7 bands in the world, you know what I mean? So I think internet radio is the way to go, because they're so much more open to new stuff. And when I do interviews with internet radio, it's all, it's so easy for them to play my stuff without having to worry about someone giving them a playlist and saying, no, you can't do that, I want this, I want that, So that's how I've been doing it, and of course doing shows.
And these days it's difficult to break through with new music.
Yeah.
I'm noticing that over and over, especially for bands who have been around for a long time. Let's say Deep Purple will do a new album, but everybody still wants Smoke on the Water. Yeah,
exactly. That's the other thing, you do stuff, and that's why, to do my stuff, I have to, not that I don't want to, but because I love doing the Angel stuff, and people got to hear, lots more people have to hear it. But, you have to really mix in that stuff, because people want to hear the old stuff. And we even had a problem when we went out with Barry and I went out when we did the In the Beginning album. Everyone wanted to hear the old stuff, So it's it's a different kind of thing now. Whereas when I was younger, when I used to go see bands, when I go see Led Zeppelin, I wanted to go and hear them do the new album.
Precisely.
These days, people want to hear you do the old album. So, but it's, you deal with it, and you work with it, and you find a way to go around, get around it.
The cool thing about it, when we watched you play live, we were very pleasantly surprised how well the new stuff fits in with the old stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like you couldn't even tell the difference. It's a new song, but it just had that feel.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, you know, you do. The stuff that I do that I feel most comfortable doing is that high energy stuff anyway, and kind of powerful stuff. So, I mean, that kind of is more where I come from. So that's why I think both those things, both the solo album and the Angel stuff, kind of works together.
Will there be more?
Yeah, I mean, as far as a new album, I'm writing with Paul right now. We have 3 songs that we've been working on. And you know, Oz wants to do a few more things with me. You know, write a few more songs. And you know, and now that I have Jeff in the band, I'm going to work with Jeff on a couple of things. So, yeah, I mean, it takes a while to get that stuff together, but once it gets done and it's in the pocket there, it kind of goes fast. But right now, it's on a kind of a slow train because there's so many other things that are going on right now. So.
Also, now that you're back on the touring circuit, how does that feel in comparison to the tours you did in the past?
Well, it's nothing like it used to be, you know. But it's always great to play in front of an audience, you know. And I'm happy for the fact that I've never stopped doing that, you know. Because in Vegas, I'm always singing somewhere, whether it's at Vamped, whether it's at one of the casinos. So I'm always singing. So it's always great to be in front of an audience, and you never lose that, you know. It's always a thrill, and it's always exciting. So.
Yeah. In fact, I have a story to share with you. I have a friend who found you somewhere in Vegas doing some kind of a vocal lesson thing.
Oh, yeah.
And he actually paid for one of the vocal lessons just so he can get an opportunity to talk to you about the Angel. And all these years, do you even recall that?
Yes, I do.
Which was a great story I was sharing with people, and then it's such an enjoyable thing.
Yeah.
You know, it shows the dedication out there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.